Well, hello, good evening and welcome. Welcome to Rangers Radio. Join myself, Foxshire, on the show this evening as the one and only Linda and my mucker, the legend, Port Bear. How we doing?
How we doing, Ox? How we doing, Linda? Hope you're well, guys.
Evening, Ox. Evening, Port. Hope you are both well, and I hope everyone listening's keeping well too.
How you enjoyed your jaunt, Linda? Had some fun? I bet you there was a bit of Prosecco sank, you're correct?
Oh, you might be right in that. Yes, I had a nice wee break, a nice wee vacation in Scotland. So, yeah, glad to be back on.
Good on you. We missed you, didn't we, Port? We missed her.
Yes, certainly did, mate. Certainly did. It's not the same place before.
Yes, you're here. Right, Linda, we've not heard from you, and just good self, Port. I know you've been busy. Give us your take on the last 7 days at our club. Ladies first, so on you go, Port.
On you go, Port.
On you go, Linda. I'll be a gentleman. On you go, darling.
Well, I'm trying to think, Ox, 7 days would take us back to last week, the Napoli game. And then obviously following the sad events of, Her Majesty's passing, obviously how that was all dealt with, the club and the fans and the tributes that were paid to her. I thought they were, absolutely fabulous. And then obviously we had to get back to try to play football, and obviously the Napoli game, I think we got a better performance maybe, Ox, but not the result that we would have wanted. But I thought the players, played well and showed that sort of fight and a bit of desire, and probably created a couple of chances as well. And I think obviously, like everybody, the sending off just changed the whole game. And probably 3-0 was a bit harsh on us. And then obviously we went into Saturday with the Dundee United game, and I don't know what you say about that. We seem to just morph back into not killing teams off, and I think you guys have covered it as well. Some of the football we played just wasn't good enough. So, but we got the win. And the matters that transpired on Sunday, Ox, we've been given a lifeline here, and we need to take it and sort of hope these players, they'd really, really put their mind to it now, and come out all guns blazing after this international break.
Yeah, it's been a long 7 days with the emotions, and obviously fired up with the football, Port Bear. What's your take on it for the club, mate?
Just to echo on the saying, mate, in regards to Napoli, you look at that game in isolation, you think, is Rangers back after the stuttering, start of the season, where we've questioned some of the players' ability, we've questioned our manager, and then Linda touched on passing of our Queen, very, very sad moment. I was proud to be working at it and go and see her off, mate, part of the Edinburgh cortege, and then you rolled down to Dundee United, where you think Rangers are on a wee high. As Linda touched on the result, Napoli got against us. We didn't deserve that result, mate, because the fight and the desire they showed us that night was back to some of the Rangers that we know and we love. And then, as Linda said, they just go back to that same drab, slow tempoed, boring, playing the handbrake on against Dundee United. I don't know what's happened with the squad, mate. And then strange decisions, like, again, Davis not being on, not getting games, playing Leon King. Just as much as I love to see, I love Charlie McCann, I'm raving about this boy, and I love to see youth getting a chance, but I want to see the players we've paid a lot of money for get a chance also. And it throws up more questions as well for me, mate. What's going on? There's clearly something going on with Davis, something in Yilmaz that they can't get a sniff, mate.
Yeah, I understand the Yilmaz one. I think you've got to get ready, and you've got to be physically ready, and maybe communication-wise, Linda, ready as well. But the Ben Davis one is a mystery as well, because he's been on the bench for 3 games. So am I being a bit old-fashioned and thinking, Linda, if you're on the bench, you're fit enough to play?
I would agree, Ox. If he's on the bench, he must be fit enough to play. It's baffling that he's not even bringing him on for the last sort of 20-25 minutes. I can understand to a certain degree why he didn't do it on Saturday. Right? Why he didn't start, I don't know. That's another question. But perhaps on Saturday, if we'd got that third goal earlier, I think you would have seen him. And you might have seen Alfie as well. That's another one that's baffling me as well, why he's not bringing Morelos on. But that's maybe another point. But I think he maybe didn't bring him on Saturday, Davies, because we ended up getting ourselves into a situation where we were 2-1 and we start to get nervous. And if you bring Davies on then and he makes a mistake and it costs us, then obviously that's something that you might have had to, think about. But it is baffling, and I know he was injured, but as you say, Ox, as far as we're aware, he's been fit for a couple of weeks. So when are we going to see him? Because if he doesn't start after the international break, then I think we've got a problem.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's strange. Maybe it could be as simple as a manager doesn't fancy him. I don't know. Maybe I've been too simplistic, but maybe it's just that you've got somebody getting used to the club or the surroundings and the fans as you build up his fitness. I don't know, but it seems strange to put somebody on the bench, doesn't it, just to fill a seat.
Aye.
They'll use them.
As you touched on it, and I touched on it last time I was on the show, in Yilmaz, I totally understand that he's 21, new culture, new language, just a young boy finding his way. Although he's a full Turkish international, he's still... I can give that a wee bit of a leeway because he's a young player, right? But Ben Davies is a guy that's played in the UK, experienced. A bit like Tom Morningside, we bought a player with not potential, a player that should go in, hitting the ground running. We expect this to happen. And this is what's frustrating and making me sort of question you a wee bit, because I'm wondering, Linda touched on it as well, the Alfie situation. What was it with bringing Alfie on with? Half an hour to go against Sunday.
I've got a theory in that, mate. I've got a theory in that.
Oh, yeah, when you go.
And I think it's quite simple, and I might be totally wrong. It's just a theory. I understand it, and I want Alfie and Cholak on the park for certain games.
Yeah.
I think that Alfie gave us as much as he could on Thursday, and it was just a case of the handbrake on and hoping that when we went 2-0 up the game, we just peter out. And then it turned out to be the complete opposite. I don't think he had any intentions of putting Alfie on.
It's just it's some of the decision making, mate. The gaffer, is throwing up questions to Rangers fans, especially Rangers fans.
They decisions because of the performance and the results. If you make the same decisions, London, and you win 4-0, nobody bats an eyelid.
Yeah, that's right. But this whole, in terms of this team, it just isn't working. This thing about he doesn't play with two strikers. We're playing with two so-called wide men and a number 9. And that's okay if your wide players are all firing in all cylinders. They're chipping in with goals and assists, but they're not, Ox. We spoke about it a few weeks ago. Our wide players haven't scored a goal between them yet this season. And I know there's still a long way to go, but that's worrying. So if you're looking at that and you think, right, I'm sticking with my one centre forward and my two wide players, but they're not performing. So surely you must have something else up your sleeve. I was speaking about it to family, we're saying, so we're saying that I take the point you make about Alfie playing during the week, but say he hadn't, right, and he was absolutely fine or whatever. Are we saying that we can't play against the bottom team in our league at home with Cholak and Morelos on the park at the same time? Are we saying that we can't do that?
I think they should be on the park at the same time for the vast majority of our games, particularly at Ibrox, if I'm being honest, Linda. I agree with you. Paul?
Yeah, totally agree. I don't see why we can't do it. But we all know Cholak can be the fox in the box, the guy that's going to be in between the posts. But Alfie showed us here, Linda, in numerous games now, his ability outside the box to link play, and even create assists. And he's also a handful, but he could get close to Cholak at times and be the guy that's going to get knockdowns for Cholak. Because I think with Alfie alongside him as well and getting close to him at times, and it bounces off Alfie and he knocks down, etc. Playing like a target man or sort of idea. Cholak's the sort of guy that would just sniff off at everything that bounces off Alfie and he'd probably score more goals through it all year. So I agree with both of these.
Please, can I ask you to do me a favour, Port? Don't mention Fox in the box. You know what's going on in real life. Right, I get your point, and I agree with you. I think we'd score more goals with the two on the park. We'll put it this way, Linda, as you rightly said, we couldn't score any less goals, could we?
Yeah, the lack of goals is worrying. I think you'd said as well, you take Cholak out and we've got a real problem. I mean, we're not... Our centre halves aren't scoring any goals. Our wide players aren't scoring any goals. We've got a centre forward that's on fire, thank goodness. And then we've got a couple of our midfielders that have chipped in with some goals, Ox. But it's just we simply don't create enough chances, and we're certainly we're not scoring enough goals. It's a real concern because we don't want to be in a position like last season where we're only 2-0 up and you concede a goal and then you concede another goal and you end up with a draw. Gio mentioned it himself at the weekend, and I don't know if it's a confidence thing, Ox, but if you think about it, the way that we've started this season, right, the positive thing is that we've not really kicked a ball yet and we're only 2 points off the top of the league. And I think that's a positive to take forward. But there are major things that need to be sorted out, and I'm hopefully that they'll use these 2 weeks to get at least get some confidence back and get some people back playing better football.
She's too wise. She's too wise for us.
Oh, miles ahead, mate. Miles ahead.
Well said, Linda. Port.
Yeah. Indeed, mate. I think it was important for me to get a result against United before we go into this international break next year. I just think if we did an international break with maybe a draw or a worse result than a draw, it'd have probably destroyed the confidence further out of this squad, because I think we're fragile next year. I think we're fragile on the pitch. I don't know if there's any off-field things that was going on at the stadium or on it that, where we were hierarchy. I don't know if that's filtered into the team. I have no idea, mate. But there's something that's very different about this season that seems to be affecting your whole squad, mate. If you think last year where this team took us special places last year, and very much for the same squad, we've started the season poorly, Linda says.
I'll throw this. I'm not at the time to calm down because it's Wednesday and I've had some food to eat after a bad performance. I'll throw this to you then, Port Bear. Yeah. All right, we haven't played well, Linda's right. But is it a worse start than last season? For 2 points behind, we were in front last season and we'd lost one game. At the start, we lost to Dundee United. We'd get knocked out the Champions League. This year we've qualified, but we lost our first 2 games in the Europa League. Yeah, I'm not saying we're going through to that section. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is, if you put it in any context, is it a worse season than last season? Or is it just the performances?
I think it's just the performance for me, Oxford. It's performances, because effectively when we come back against Hearts after the international break, we win that game or tap the league again. Which is incredible for what Linda touched on, because on the way we're playing the performance, we probably don't deserve to be in that position, Oxford, if you're honest.
I agree, but that's the bizarre thing, Linda.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, and sometimes it is all about getting results. But the difficulty for us is that I think we didn't see this coming. It's ridiculous, but the league was people have been writing us off, and I don't think we've been as bad as that when we've been talking about it on Herox. We certainly haven't written off the season. We have been majorly concerned, and we still are concerned. But what the difficulty is that it's still the same issues that don't seem to have been addressed. The lack of goals, as Port says, the lack of goals, the tempo of the play, the inability to kill teams off. These are all the things that came back to haunt us last year, Ox. And effectively, yes, you can argue that there was some decisions we didn't get as well, but we left ourselves open to sucker punches by not scoring enough goals and not playing at a proper tempo. And so far this season, apart from the odd game or so, that seems to have just continued into this season, despite the fact that we made some summer signings who, as you rightly said, Ox, we haven't seen enough of them yet.
Yeah, okay. All right, we can park that, right? We'll get the phone lines open, but once we've opened the phone lines, we're going to sort of discuss. We never really we touched on it briefly last night. We're going to discuss what broke yesterday with the club, because it's international break, and it was good to get a bit of news yesterday to keep us going. The John Bennett interviews in 2 parts, and I know you two have looked at them closely. We'll discuss that after we get the phone lines open, if that's all right with you too.
Superb, mate, yeah.
Perfect.
All right, okay. Let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
I've got to say, I don't know John Bennett personally. I know people who do know him. He comes from the west of the city. I know people know him, and he's meant to be a fine, upstanding individual and comes from good stock, and he's very passionate about our club. And I suppose he put himself out there. I think it would be agreed with the rest of the board that he would be the guy that would speak to the support. Would that be fair, Linda?
Yeah, I think so. And we don't really see very much of Douglas Park, don't we not?
No, I don't think he's that type of individual, is he?
No, he's not. And John Bennett seems to be the sort of voice that fronts up the board, and they obviously trust him to go on and give a good account of himself. And I think you're right. It was probably needed in terms of the lack of communication that we've had, Ox, and he's never going to keep everybody happy in terms of what the content and how he addressed it. But as I say, I think it was well overdue, and they've obviously just taken the opportunity during this break to put something out there.
Can I say something that upped with me yesterday? I mean, people pay money for Rangers TV, Portwear. Yeah, supporters, fans, they pay money to get the exclusives on Rangers TV before it goes on the other media outlets. So they get it first, and then the club get criticised for it being behind a firewall. I don't understand the criticism, but that's the right thing to do, surely. You put it to the paying customers.
Of course. And I noticed not long after the paying customers got it, they put it on YouTube, I believe. For your charge, basically. Is
that not right that the guys who are paying the money every month?
I'll get it first, of course it is. 100%, mate, 100%. I'll see some of that.
I don't understand the gripe. I really don't. Am I looking at it too cynically, Linda? I really don't understand the criticism and that side of things. But there is a lot of things that people deserve to be criticised about, but I don't understand that gripe.
Yeah, and I think as soon as it came out, on our TV, it was advertised on Twitter. There was hundreds and hundreds of comments about the fact that it was ironic that they were talking about the lack of communication and then didn't make something like that free. But that was within seconds, Ox.
Right.
As I said earlier, you're never, they're never going to be able to keep everybody happy. But I do take your point.
Surely the guys that pay the money are entitled to it first, yeah?
Yes, I would agree. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Personally, I don't put other people have a different view. And you might have a different view. It's just the way I see it. But the people who pay it get it first, and then shortly after that, everybody gets to see it. I don't see the big deal. Okay, so a very kind lady broke the thing into 5 categories. Yeah, John's interviews. Yeah, and I'll give you the headings, and then we can discuss them. Communication, which Linda touched on the field performance, which we've touched on, and we touch on every night. Squad investment, player trading, I've got a bit to say on that. I've got my own thoughts on that. I'm sure you used to have as well. Commercial and finances. Obviously, we'll get Bridge to comment on that because he's the man with the finances. Stadium and infrastructure. I think a lot of things have come out in the last couple of days. Takeover rumours and shareholders' interest, which is never going to stop. It's part of being a successful business and a part of a world brand in football. Right, okay, so we'll start with communications. Linda, what's your thoughts and how do we improve it? And is this maybe a starter for 10? Could it be a quarterly thing? Could it be something that's done, we have quarterly updates, say, for the board to the supporters? Would that be fair? Something like that? Yeah,
I think that's a great idea because, we get everything broken down at the AGM. We obviously, if people are fortunate enough to be able to go, but after that, you always get everybody doing the analysis of it, and various platforms, break things down for us. But maybe something like that, a quarterly report, so that we're not left hanging and waiting for 12 months to pass. And I think he made a really great point about the fact that if you don't communicate at good times or opportunistic times, like after what happened when we qualified for the Champions League, Ox, and what that meant for us, then what happens is, I think he said, this vacuum is created, and then it gets filled with things that basically aren't true or exaggerated. So I think something along the lines of more regular communication, like you've said there, I think that would be ideal. But he did put his hands up and he said that it's something that they need to get, better. And he admitted that there was obviously an issue with that.
Yeah, obviously as board members put the responsibilities to the shareholders, first and foremost. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, ultimately, if they get that right and we've been successful, it means the team's right as well. Also, us as fans, let's be honest, the majority of our interest is the first team, but we need some communication. We don't expect them to tell us every time they need to change a washer on a tap or the finances. That there's a time and a place for that at the AGM, but just to talk to us a wee bit more would be fine. Every international break would be great in a selfish point of view for the show, Port. But
indeed, mate, indeed. I just think all we're asking for Ox is a wee bit more transparency. John Bennett's interview, I really enjoyed it. There were 17 interesting minutes for me, for our deputy chairman, mate. And he's one of his first advice.
What's Stettenhoff?
No. First 15 minutes out of 15 minutes I'm talking about. But one of his first admissions, mate, was about the club's communication with fans. He said it has to be a lot better. I think he was very honest, mate, and he admitted and accepted a lot of criticism, from the hierarchy of the club, and basically put it out there that he's going to, he's determined to stop the frustrations with the fans and the club in regards to speaking to each other. And I think it would help the fans. It stops all the BS Ox here getting made up and all the, lazy journalism and people talking, on social media, etc. When the club are so silent, when they're going through a sticky first quarter of the season, or first bit of the season, and things are going on or off the field or on the field are going pretty poorly. Everybody's frustrated. We're all angry. We're hurt, and there's nothing coming out of the club. And I think that's what frustrates fans, because I think after getting, qualifying for Europe, getting the Champions League, I think a lot of fans, added to with the on-field stuff, I think we're all expecting one or two signings next year of quality when we got some money, and that never came to anything.
Is that the problem, Port?
I think that's part of it.
As fans,
I think
as fans, you're a fan of the club. It's the supporters who are putting the cash in. Guys like John Bennett at different levels, £7 million, I believe, as a figure. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. And the guys that are putting thousands and thousands in, and the guys that are putting hundreds and hundreds in, the guys that go every week and buy the season tickets. Yeah, they're the supporters, aren't they? The guys that buy the strips and the people that maybe can't afford season tickets, but they get 3 strips at Christmas time. But we've got fans now of the club whose expectation, because of the way the world's changing on social media and everything's instant, who want to know every detail of the club because it's their passion. But they're no supporters of the club as far as the financial aspects are concerned.
Yeah, I understand you.
Yeah.
I get that, mate. I totally get that. These guys are still the lifeblood. John Bennett mentioned that several times.
The supporters, aye. Supporters. Without them, there's no club, Without them,
exactly.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Linda, it's difficult, and I'm not sticking up for the club. I don't think they can tell us every detail, but I think communication could definitely improve.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as you said, they can't kind of come out and lay bare every financial detail and every single thing that's going on behind the scenes, and but they can only try, Ox. It'll be interesting to see how long we wait for the next sort of communication, but maybe they need to be a wee bit more proactive. And it's the communication's as long as it needs to be. I mean, that was just over 30 minutes when you split it into the two. There was quite a lot of stuff to cover, and that was mainly because we haven't heard from them for so long. But I think the supporters would appreciate it if it was done on a more regular basis, and they instigated it, not just because the criticism that they've had with the lack of communication.
Yeah, okay. I think we'd all agree the communication. I think it was good that he touched on that. It was an issue for everybody, fans, supporters, everybody who's got an interest in Rangers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, for a Celsius point of view, it'd be good for us on here. Gives us things to talk about, Linda. So we move on to the next thing was on-field performance, and he touched on the last 2.5 years. And if you put that in context, it's been amazing. It has been amazing. Undefeated in the league, won the 55, and then we get to a European final that we never thought would. Did we ever think it would happen, Port? And he's right. But the downside is, domestically, this calendar year, we've been rubbish.
Indeed. Like I said earlier on, they took us to Dreamland last year. They took us. We actually thought. I remember us talking on the show last year. Actually, I don't remember when we said we thought that this team was coming to the end of a cycle, and we were all saying, Gio's going to come in, he's going to rip the squad apart, and but they went and they offered new deals big deals to Goldson and Tav, and they kept the crux of the squad because that squad, rightly so, took us to the European final. And we thought, right, we don't need to get rid and rebuild because we've got a core of a good squad here that we all thought we trusted, and it's just not materialised so far this year.
Mm-hmm. I get it. Listen, if people have got a different point of view, and we've not discussed this as a group, we might see things differently. Phone in. We have no problem with people joining us, and having a completely different point of view. There's no an issue as long as you're respectful and don't shout at me. You can shout at these two, but don't shout at me. Yeah, I get it, Port. I mean, we haven't. Let's be honest. This calendar year, Linda, you could count a good performance domestically, in particular away from home, on one hand, couldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. When you think back to the winter break that was brought forward, and you can look at all that, and we had a 6-point lead, and things started to go wrong for us. And when you think about it, apart from the 55 season, it's what's happened to us domestically, hasn't it? The last sort of 3 or 4 seasons, Ox. We don't seem to come back from these winter breaks, firing all cylinders. I mean, he did say that, if you'd asked them 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, would that have been a success? The Scottish Cup, the League, the Europa League final. Most Rangers fans would have taken that.
I agree with that statement. I agree with that. To win that championship was the greatest ever, and to get a European final, I don't think anybody foreseen that, Port Bear. I think Linda's right. Do you gear it up for the league? It's a hard conversation. It's a tough question, Port, isn't it?
Well, it's tough. I think we done it a couple of times last season. We were sort of, what one would you do? What one would you take?
I'll tell you. And looking back now, I would rather have took the league, and I'll tell you why. Because I had to sit in a sunbed next to Jaffa in his Speedos, and I've not recovered for that yet. Yeah. Sometimes when I'm trying to sleep, I look at the ceiling and I just see it, and I can't sleep, Linda. It scared me for life. Sorry, Jaffa.
That's a shame, Locks.
They were nice Speedos, I may ask. I think they were new. He just got them. Anyway, no, that memory of Seville was maybe for I don't know if it'll ever happen again, Port, but the league's are bread and butter, and did we blow the league? Maybe. Yeah, was it a consequence of Europe? We'll never be able to answer that. We could have been knocked out of Europe and lost more games. You don't know, Linda.
No, you don't. And the thing about domestically, I mean, when you think back to before Gerrard came, we were just such a mess in Europe and domestically, and he gave us our sort of mojo back and put us, back to a certain degree. But there have been disappointments as well when you think about the last sort of 3 or 4 years. Some of, when Gerrard was here, he had a few low moments as well when you think about things like when we went out to Hearts in the Cup box. We thought he was going to walk away that night. And you think about the two leagues that we basically, as I said, we didn't turn up after sort of, the winter break. And we've had some difficult times as fans domestically. But all during that time, they did perform really well in the Europa League. They put us back on the mark in Europe. And then that obviously culminated in getting to the final. But I think as fans, Ox, we want to win more things. So at the end of the day, we didn't win the Europa League. So, you could argue that we would rather have had the Scottish Premier League because we would have had another trophy in the cabinet,
Yeah, I get it. And I think I get your sentiment, but who'll ever forget that night against Leipzig? Quarter.
Oh, no, I know. That's the question, mate. Would you give that up for, these nights? Would you give that up for your league? It's such a hard question to ask, mate, because that whole journey, I mean, even Dortmund and all that here as well, the Dortmund matches, Leipzig, as you said, it's incredible. One-offs, as you said, we might never get to these things again because these tournaments are just getting tougher and tougher to qualify in. They're getting tougher and tougher to prepare. Even when you're in the group stage, look how hard their group's been so far. It's incredible, mate. It's incredible.
We accepted on-field performances. There's been an issue in the short term, but if you take it over maybe 3 years, it's been that is past Mark's Linder, isn't it? And we've made mistakes. I think the board would be the first to admit that we've made mistakes. We should have maybe invested, last summer, and we could have been in a different place. And we brought in guys like Aaron Ramsey, paying decent wages towards them, and we've got a lot wrong. But and we've not refreshed the squad, and all signings are a gamble, Linda. Some work, some don't, but we've had a lot of misses.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've not paid in comparative terms, a lot of money for players we have this year, but we seem to take on projects, didn't we? Or we've taken players that are, at the end of their contracts. And I know sometimes you talk about this, that it's not a case of you're getting them for nothing. You've still got to give them good wages, but you're not paying fees. I don't think we've signed enough what you would call sort of bona fide starters, Ox, and it still looks a wee bit like that this year, apart from Cholak.
I'm gonna give you some stats here. This was before last week, so it's changed slightly. And this is the players that Ross Wilson's been involved in since he came into the club. And I'm not going to go at Ross. People can take this any way I want, but this is since 2000, I believe, 19. What is that right? 3 years he's been with.
Right, yeah.
Cholak, 11 out of 12. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tillman, 9 out of 12. Yeah. Lundstrom, 48 out of 77. The second number is the games he could have played.
Mm-hmm.
Lawrence, 7 out of 12. Balogun, 52 out of 121. Bassi, 52, exactly the same number as Balogun at 121. Hadji, 55 out of 133. Sands, 16 out of 44. Matondo, 4 out of 12. Ramsey, 9 out of 28. Roof, 42 out of 133. McLaughlin, 41 out of 133, a bit different goalkeeper. Wright, 25 out of 95. Sakala, 19 out of 77. Yilmaz, 2 out of 11. Dalio, 5 out of 29. Zungu, 5 out of 43. Itten, 14 out of possible 121. Bakuna, 3 out of 31. Davies, 1 out of 12. Suter, 1 out of 12. Simpson, 7 out of 84. Sakowski, 1 out of I can't see that number. 1 out of 23. 0 for 4, obviously heart issues. None out of 77. That's no good reading.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And I'll tell you, it makes that even worse. See if you put the weekly wage next to that and started digesting that. Ain't good reading. And a guy comes on here, the AK, and he's been beating this drum for a while. And he's right.
He is, mate. He's been. You're right. He has been banging this drum pretty well in regards to Ross Wilson. Basically letting down. And you look at the squads, and matches next year, how does a squad build any continuity as a team when they get so little game time, so little minutes on the park? How do you build that, in-game intelligence amongst squads and players? And when you're obviously sticking to a core of players that he's been playing regular, and these guys have been on the periphery by the looks of things. With that, what you're showing there, incredible, mate. That's bad reading, mate. That's bad reading.
It's pretty fine. I accept that every player's a gamble, and you sign them, and then they've got to get ahead of the guy in front of them. You get unlucky circumstances like injuries, etc. But then when John Suter, people will say, well, we knew what we were signing. He had previous injury problems. Why did we sign him when we're giving him a wage? I get it. They maybe throw the same at Ruth, and then you've Hollander as well. And then you've got the unlucky things that just happen. Tom Lawrence, as far as I know, he played most of Derby's game last year. Then all of a sudden he gets an injury, a freak injury, and he's out for a few weeks. That's just football, isn't it, Port?
Yeah. That's that. You kind of like that. Tom Lawrence was another present for Derby in Rooney's final season there, mate. So as you said, luck, absolute, another way unlucky. Because he did look like he was going to hit the ground running. Tom Lawrence, definitely.
Hello, we've been joined by Jimmy. Evening, Jimmy. How are we doing?
Hi, hello. Thanks very much for taking my call. Enjoy your show. Thanks very much.
You're welcome, mate. The floor's yours, mate.
So, all I'm phoning up is I listen to some of the calls and I listen to folk at the football, and they're going on about we're doing great and this is great and that's great and we've come back for the dead and we've achieved so much in a short period of time. But unfortunately, I don't see it that way at all, because all we've won in my recent history is one championship, one Scottish Cup, and some cup for some moneylender like Ramsden or Ramses or whatever they're called, some pawnbroker. And that's all we've won.
Well, if you include that cup, you've got to include the other 3 league titles, because you can only win the league you're in.
Aye, but I'm talking about major trophies, domestic honours.
Aye.
I mean, when folks say that we're in this division, that division, the next division, to me, it would have still been challenging for the Scottish Cup and the League Cup and won them at least once over that period of time. Fair enough, we go to a final against Hibs and get gubbed. But Hibs won the second division and all at that time, the first division, whatever you want to call it. To me, our record is abysmal and it's not acceptable for Rangers. We've got too many players, in my opinion, that are the winners. They go into the finals and they've just not got that mentality that we have to win it at all costs. Well, that was the greatest chance that we ever had in that European final in Seville. We never won it. We couldn't have had the lead. It's just the same as a lot of the games. We go 1-0 up, whatever. Some games we've even been 2-0 up. We couldn't have had the lead. We'd draw or get beat. And to me, for a club, Rangers that I love, it's not acceptable. We've got players that's been there since the days of Warburton and all these other folk that was there. And some of them are mainstays now. I mean, that Tavernier, I mean, he's a great, I wouldn't, people talk about him as the greatest and this and that and next thing. He's not in the class at Sandy Jardine or any folk like that.
No, he's not. He wouldn't be in my. I can think of several right backs that are finer players, and I think James Tavernier, Sandy Jardine, Gary Stevens, yeah.
Aye, 100%, aye. But what he does for us is, I mean, he must get home at night on a Saturday and his wife goes on and say, how's you got on today? Say, I scored 2. I got a couple of penalties. I got a free kick. I done this. His wife must think, is you the only guy that plays for that mob? Are they totally relying on you to do something? And he's not a world beater by any manner of means. So to me, the mindset and what we've got, it's not right. There's something, it's just not there. Alfie, we're talking about Alfie coming back. A great goal scorer in Europe and scores quite a lot of goals for us. But on a lot of the big occasions, the finals and when we're pushing for things, he went missing. He's either suspended or injured. He's not there. For a lot of time, he was sitting in the stand watching because he was out of the game. So we're not getting the value out of these folk that we should be getting. Because although they're not on the biggest amount of money, they're still getting big bucks. I just see that something has to change with the mindset of the players and the people that's running it. And I think that's the case with Gerrard. I think the downfall with Gerrard was the Malmo game. When they were down to 10 men, the tie was all square enough, and only had to beat them on that second half to qualify for the Champions League. They couldn't do it. Or 2-0 down before a ball had ever been kicked in that second half. I think that's when he says, I need to get out. I'm out of here. First chance I get. Because he must have went for him for money. And he says, no, you've had money, which he did, because he was well supported, Steven Gerrard. His backroom team, everything that Steven Gerrard wanted to go it. But it's just that finishing touch and that bit to see us over the line and making us winners again. You know,
what would you say, Jim? Can I ask you a question, Jimmy?
Aye.
Would you say that, how do I put this? We lack Rangers supporters in the team then? Is that what you're saying?
Blue Noses, 100%. I mean, okay. I go back. I mean, I sat next to the guy and obviously pulled up the way you're talking. You can't say this, you can't say that. But I'd sooner have the team that we had in the late 60s, mid-60s, late 60s.
And they're not a wee bit old now.
Aye, but that mindset. I'm not talking about their players. I'm talking about that mindset. I mean, John Greig, the greatest player I've ever seen, the greatest Rangers player I've ever seen. Not the greatest football player by any manner it means. But his heart, his soul, and everything was into it. But we don't have that anymore. It's just not there.
Has the game changed, Jimmy? Has the game changed that you can't put a marker on somebody? Yellow card, maybe red card. Look at Lundstrom's tackle. I don't know if John Greig would get expected for that tackle back in the day, would he? Lundstrom gets a straight red card.
John Greig was the same with his own players. I mean, I remember a game at Kilmarnock and Jim Denny was farting about. I don't know if you've seen Jim Denny or that came for yoga, and it was just a journeyman. You know, he wasn't a great player and he never done too much right, mainly because he never done too much in the first place. But it was the balance. He was messing about trying to take a free kick, a shy. John Greig went out and grabbed the ball off him and skelted him to get out the road. Because he was, John Greig just fought and died for that club. But we don't have players that's like that at all. You know? You've got guys, Colak was doing it the other day there. He went up and kissed the badge and he was waving the crowd to start cheering and shouting and all that. You know? And I said, that's what Alfred done. I said, last time Alfred done that was at Easter Road and he got sent off 10 minutes later. All that sort of stuff doesn't cut any ice. Somebody said in the show, would you swap the Euro Cup, the Seville Cup for a championship? I would have swapped that if we won a League Cup, because we've not won a League Cup since I don't know when.
2011, I think. 2011, I think.
Aye, I'd rather see trophies in that trophy room. And once you build that up, then that generates the cash, generates the interest.
Does it 350,000 for winning the 350,000 for winning the League Cup?
I know that, aye. But you get so much, you'll get more money for a point in the Champions League than you do for winning the Scottish Cup. I know how it all works. But as a supporter of the Rangers, because that's your history. You go into Ibrox or go anywhere and it shows you what you've won. What have we won recently? What is it people going to look at and see, aye, they won that? Because it's not going to recognise that it was the 55 that we stopped again in a row for that other mob.
No, it's 55.
Although that was a great achievement. Mm-hmm. But in saying that, I also believe that the manager at that Parkhead club had as much to do with us winning 55 as many of the other players that was playing for us at the time, that season. That's what I believe, honestly.
There's a point of view. I'll let Port and Linda take up some of your points. Linda?
Aye. Sorry for going on.
No, brilliant, mate, brilliant.
No.
I feel strongly about that, because I don't accept anything bad winning in cups.
No, you just want us to win. There's nothing wrong with that, mate. Linda, in you come.
Yeah, you're right, Jimmy. We just want trophies, don't we? And even thinking about the Champions League this year, we all wanted to get there, but there's you're starting to think about that now, and you think to yourself, it's worth being in it, obviously, because this so-called the finances that you get, but the Europa League's much more attractive in terms of you've got a chance of winning some games as well, Jimmy. And then you think, we've been banging on about Europe for the last sort of 4 or 5 years, but as Rangers fans, we just want to win things. We want trophies,
Exactly.
But what I will say, Jimmy, is that, I totally I do agree with you on that, but it's just because it's the Europa League runs and the money that's generated from Europe that enables the club to do other things, Jimmy. And I know I totally agree with what you're saying about trophies, but things that they were talking about upgrades to the stadium and the training complex and all that. And for us fans, it doesn't mean that's not the be all and end all, but I suppose it is for trying to take the club forward. And Ox made the point there about what you get for winning the League Cup. If we'd won 3 or 4 more trophies but didn't have the Europa League runs over the last 3 or 4 years, we wouldn't be in as good a financial position as we are, in terms of, that we've got the lights on now. But I do agree with you.
100%,
it's trying to get a balance, Jimmy, but I would like some more trophies like you. I don't think we've won enough.
No, you're right.
I agree with Jimmy and Linda, mate. I think I'd like to see us get back to a bit of domestic dominance again. Jimmy, I'm the same as you, mate. I'd like to see us going, we are the longest running league title holders in Scotland. I'd like to see us get that dominance back. We win natural order. We win all the trophies in Scotland. Because if you start winning these trophies, mate, you get into Europe. Through the league, you win the league, you get the Europe Champions League automatically now. So that should be your incentive enough to go and get into the Champions League. Win your league, just win your league. Keep these titles rolling on, and you'll get in the Champions League, and you'll get the money for the Champions League. So I do get what you're saying, mate, but I also understand the finance side.
Will you if you don't have the coefficient points?
Well, that's no, but I do get hammered this year. I know that. I know that.
I think it has to start somewhere. And it has to start with winning. That's how it has to start. And then, obviously, the Europa League was Merlin level. And I don't know about that other thing, the Europa Conference and all that. But even starting at A levels and then winning in that, then building for there. But we're in the Champions League now. To be honest, we're chasing money and we're getting money, which is good. But I think we should be chasing trophies and winning trophies. And then through that, everything else will start to fall into place. That's only the way I see it. The money side of it now, I mean, look at that shop there, the Rangers shop or whatever it's called now, the thing. But the only thing that they sell is clothes, jumpers and jerseys. Because I'm in my 60s, mid-66, I get to places like Easter Road and Hearts at Tynecastle early. So I go and walk about and I go in to see their shops. And their shops are fantastic, all the stuff that they sell everything to do with that club. All he sells clays,
That's been mentioned on here, mate.
That shop's a Castore shop, mate. Let's be honest about it. It's a Castore shop, yeah.
I don't think we cater or we don't exploit it or same as that. But
we launched a rubber duck today for a tenner.
Same as that. I'm at the back of the, what do you call it, the Govan Real Sandy Jarman, it's called. And they've got this corporate thing, and I've been building it for I don't know how long now. And I speak to the workman. I said, what's happening there? And he says, when's it going to be finished? And they're talking about January. These sort of things should be up and running for the start of a season, or certainly for the start of a Champions League thing, so that you can exploit it fully. Same with that, where the Rangers Club is, where they're going to build a museum. It was starting and stopping. Then they said it was the foundations. It's the exact same area where the Rangers Club is, where you used to get thousands of people in there. So you say, well, how come the foundations were all right for that, and they're not all right for this now? And it's all in the same area. It just doesn't all add up to me. And for a club of the Rangers, to me, it's a shame, And it's the same with that Union Bear mob. You'll not get a better mob than them. And it used to be like the Blue, what was it, the Blue Order?
Blue Order, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, before that, they're great people. They should be trying to do it backwards to help them. After the 55, I thought that was good. It reminded me of the Eastern Road, where they won each with Colin Staines going the equaliser. And then we all come out of Eastern Road. You know, I was walking down the road with that Chris McClure, and it was Christian, or whatever it became. We went to a good night in the Blue Star, in there that night. And these are memories that live forever. But we won a league and we can't defend it. And then you know, we don't build for there. But,
that was the point. I don't know. The recruitment. If you look at the recruitment, I get your point about the buildings and that, and I think COVID's got bits and pieces to do with that and slowed things down. The supply chain, the world's got a bit complicated in the last 3 years as far as building projects are concerned. But the big thing, as we touched on earlier, was the recruitment, Jimmy, and that was the point you made, that some of the players were brought in. There's just no work to improve the team. When you recruit, you're trying to improve. Sometimes you're bringing in squad players that will cover a few bases for us, but ultimately you're trying to improve your first team. And we've not done that for what?
No.
6 transfer windows, and that's not good enough.
Oh. Well, a long time ago, I wrote in that it was about that Ross Wilson guy, or whatever his name was. No. When he was at Southampton, or whatever it was he was at Southampton, I think.
Yeah.
When you're talking about the English Premiership, all you've got to do with clubs like that is stay in that Premiership, and the owners and everything will be happy. Because the millions will flood in anyway. Not the Champions League money, but you get millions off of Sky and off all these other things for being in the Premiership. So you've got the money to squander and spend on players. You come up here, and then the money's there, they give him the money, but he's not buying the right, we're not getting the right players that just come in, put the jersey on, away on at the park and play. That Rabbi Matonda, fair enough, he played in a friendly, he ran up the wing, beat about 6 guys at about 100 mile an hour, and everybody thought, oh, this is brilliant. That was the last year. All he is just another fashion that can't score a goal. Well, at least with fashion, you get a bit of entertainment. He gets the odd goal now and again. You know, so you say, well, what's happening? Why are we doing this? It just upsets me so, you know, with the Rangers.
Certain characters, Jimmy, do you know, agree? It's certain characters we don't have in our team now. We don't have any players that's got, you know, that sort of digger out of character, like the strut about the park, you know, guys like we were growing up with guys like Gascoigne, you know, pure characters on the park.
Ferguson, aye.
Ian Ferguson, Derek Ferguson, yeah.
It's just as if it doesn't mean too much. That Goldson guy, he was saying, oh, I never said I wasn't wanting to be with the Rangers, I wasn't doing that. I was at the dentist the other week, and it was a young boy, it was a goalkeeper with the Rangers. And he had Goldson had his house up for sale. So, where was all that? But you wouldn't put your house up for sale if you weren't thinking about bailing out.
Maybe he knew he was getting a rise and he was getting a bigger one, Jimmy. Eh?
No. The players that we've got there are
very cool,
and it's because that nobody else wants them. You know. Yeah,
right, listen. We've got another caller coming in. Great call from Jimmy. Brilliant to hear from you.
Upsets me.
No, some of your points have been 100% valid and great points, mate. It's all about opinions, mate, and your passion for the club shine through, mate.
I just want to get back to where we want to be instead of all this storytelling and folk arriving and all that. I'd rather folk getting launched into it and winning at all costs. And it doesn't matter to me whether it's a League Cup or a Euro Cup or whatever cup. We win it. If we're in a final, we win it. And that's it.
Cheers,
Thanks
mate.
very much anyway. You're doing a great job. Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot. Don't you phone in again, Jimmy, yeah?
God bless you.
Cheers,
mate.
Night, Jimmy.
Here's a surprise. We've been joined by old Davey. He's not been on for about 2 weeks, Port Bear, but he phones in tonight. What do you think?
Aye. That must have been some box of size of Maltesers he was eating then for a fortnight.
And they were gobstoppers. Good, Davey.
I'm doing fine. I'm just so you're going to jump and tap me, saying we're going to have a tune.
Are you talking to me or Linda?
Don't say anything, Davy. Don't say anything.
Were you pining, David? Were you crying? Is that why you didn't phone in? Did you miss her?
I was listening last night. I've been listening. I was away on holiday, actually. I was over in Cyprus. I was away for... I was away when Her Majesty passed, which was very sad. Very sad.
Yeah.
No, listening to the conversation tonight, I've got to say, I agree with some of it, but see, as Rangers supporters, we're just too contrary. We don't appreciate what we've got. And then we've not got a divine right.
Explain yourself, David. It's a good point of view. Explain, elaborate on it.
Well, elaborate on it. We've not got a divine right to win. And when we're talking about we should be winning this and winning that, what about Partick Thistle supporters? What do they win? And we're not. We've lucky we support the best team that's there, and we don't appreciate it. Okay, it's not going great now, but that's life. That'll all get better. If we get, I'll tell you another wee point I'd like to put. See the minute we lost Bassey and Aribo, we've never replaced that. We're talking about where's the ingenuity and the creativeness. It's not there. That defence is mince, and Big Bassey held that together. But you can't just flick a coin and say, right, we're going to win this and win that. It doesn't look like that.
Big Bassey, this time last year, I think the majority of the supporters maybe took $2 million for him, Linda. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's quite ironic. And I think, during the COVID pandemic with the faux pas with young Patterson, I think we talked about that before as well. How ironic was that?
Who's picked up a bad injury tonight, by the way. It looks as if it's his medial ligaments, but there you go.
Oh. Has he? Oh, goodness, that's not so good. But no, you're right. Probably we would have taken $2 million, as you say, Ox. You just don't know how things are going to turn out. I mean, the club just couldn't turn that sort of money down for him. We would love to have Bassey still in the squad, but it's just the way things are. You just, as I said, you just couldn't knock that back.
No, and you might have no control on it because we don't know the finer points of people's contracts. Port Bear, like Joe Aribo, ultimately. I like Joe Aribo. Some people didn't. I did, and I think we've missed him. I'll tell you what, I think we've missed him at set pieces in that front post, Port. The amount of balls he never get back from.
Front post.
Aye, he took that position up every day, didn't he?
In the opposing box, in the opposing box, and our box, and cleared a hell of a lot of headers. And guys of that quality, and I spoke to about character. To Jimmy a minute ago, Bassey developed character, mate, and became, as you've rightly said a few times on the show, a cult figure, a cult hero for the fans, a guy that, if you're playing alongside him because you see his endeavour and his drive and his will to win a tackle or, win a header, guys like that, play alongside guys like that make G you up and make you want to try as hard as they, if not try harder. Patterson as well, another player that gave everything for the games he was there. And to think, two players last year, John Bennett talked about one of the final four pillars being, player trading. To find two players that were hardly getting in the squad, they couldn't get in front of Tav. Bassey was struggling to get in the team at one point as well, and to get the money we got for him last year, as Linda said, you can't knock that money back for players that were a bit apart, if you like to say it at the start. But definitely to replace big characters with the quality of Joe Aribo and Calvin Bassey, mate, you need to spend some of the money you got for them, basically, to try and replace it.
You need to be lucky as well.
Yeah, 100%, mate. No guarantees. Yeah.
Anyway, we've reached that time of the evening. Davey, you can get the aftershave and that on for Linda, and we're going to have a tune.
And a box of Maltesers.
Who's that TV comedy? Who's that TV over door? They're the boys from Royal Blue, and the Scotland Town, and they're out to show the world what they can do. So And let's hope that every game will walk the lights in. And the voice of every team is lying down.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
It's one of the troubles with the player trading, Linda, that we as fans or supporters, whatever we want to call ourselves, we don't know really interested in the first team and how it goes rather than the economics of the club.
Yeah, we just want the best players, don't we, Ox? To be at the club, we want to sign the best players that we can too, and we don't want to see these kind of young talents walking out the door. Because even when young Nathan went, a lot of people were really disappointed with that too, but he just couldn't get in ahead of Tav. And then obviously with Bassey, the transformation in him in the last sort of 6 months of the last season, it was quite remarkable the way that he was playing. And but you're right, we don't want to see these guys leaving. But the finances, the club go on about it a lot. It's a business, but I know that we just want to basically have the best players on the park every week.
But how does the player trading model work then? Bear, help me out. Tav gets a big extension, which I don't mind him getting an extension. Connor gets a 4-year extension. Obviously, that's between him and the club, but I think a lot of fans are maybe questioning the length of the extension. Maybe not the extension, but the length. How does that work? Stephen Davis, Al McGregor, Scotty Arfield, that's 5 wages. We're not trading them for nothing, are we?
No, that's you touched on it earlier on. There was maybe some players that we should have, flipped last year. Maybe the season before, refreshed the squad. Should we have offered Al McGregor another year? Should we have offered Stephen Davis another year? You said Scotty Arfield. Or should
This
we
time
try
last
to
week,
get?
they offered Al McGregor a 2-year.
Yeah, indeed, mate, indeed. But what did that tell you though? Especially in the Napoli game, when the last time we were in the Champions League next year, Al McGregor and Stephen Davis played. So 12 years later, they played against Napoli, and arguably probably 2 of the best performers on the night. And that shows you where our squad currently is at the moment. Player trading, mate, is important for our club now. As John Bennett mentioned today, it's one of the final 4 pillars that they've only just really got them going probably January there. And that has to be the future of our club. You've got like a King who will hope to eventually flip in a few years' time. I think Charlie McCann, Alex Lowry. But in the meantime, we've still got to try and go and get Ross Wilson today, in my opinion, and his scouting team a better job in getting players, mate, because right now, someone like Tom Lawrence that's until he got injured, that was showing me any really good potential. And we can't have that, Alexia. We can't have that. This team has to move forward.
And Tom Lawrence is injured at the moment, so ultimately he's not been. He's done all right when he's played, but he's not played the last few games, so he's not a success. Anyway, we've been joined by a Rangers fan, Alex Kelly. How are we doing, Alex?
Good evening, Oxshire. Linda, Port Belt.
Evening,
I know,
Alex.
man. Listen, just wanted to start with saying I thought that was a fantastic call what Jimmy made there in the first part of the show. Echoed a lot of lawyer sentiments of where we want to be, but I thought he put it across very well. Anyway, watched the Bennett interview, same as the rest of yourselves. He made a few pertinent points, I thought. At least they're communicating, as I say, that's a kind of positive we can take out of it. But as you just touched on there, our player trading model isn't exactly working, is it? And he wouldn't go into details on it. He seemed to back up Ross Wilson and a lot of things with the player, obviously the transfer acquisition and that he's that we've looked at. But the list that you have in front of you, it's not exactly good reading. as well. So I think that's a massive failure and why we're no winning on the park.
I get that, and I absolutely agree with you, Alex, but the devil's always in the detail, because what we'll never know is if we went for, I'd say, a right winger, was the one we got 7th choice for various reasons. 4 of them didn't want to come because they didn't fancy the climate. 2 of them didn't want to come because we couldn't afford them, and then you get number 7 on your list. You know, it's no. I accept it's very, very difficult because sometimes the league we play in,
that's acceptable. But if that is the kind of main area of the team, then surely you set aside more money for that position. Then,
but then if you give him £50,000 a week, the next player you wants £50,000 a week or 60. Yeah, it's difficult, mate. It's a
aye. Yeah, well, that's the joys of running a football club, isn't it?
I'm not saying that list I rang out is good by any manner of means, but I accept that it's not as easy as we all think it is, yeah?
No, you're right, pal. You're right. This is the problem that football and acquisition is. It's basically every signing's a gamble, isn't it? But it's sometimes it's an educated gamble if you look at the kind of character of the player and what their injury record is like. If you do all that, and you know your due diligence, you would assume that Ross Wilson would be doing that anyway. But why are we signing all these kind of crocs? So you've got your Roofs and your Hollanders and guys like that. We've not seen Ben Davis, we've not seen Yilmaz. Not saying they're all crocs, but you could have been unlucky, but some of them have certainly had a previous history with a previous club, getting a full season at them.
I understand that, mate. I understand that. I think we all understand it. But it's a fine balancing act you work all the time, innit? It's to get the players in. I was just looking at Kemar Ruth. I mean, that's 42 games out of 133. I mean, that must be nearly 100. That was a couple of games ago, so that's 42 out of 135. And we know he's a good player. We know he's a good finisher, but you know a lot of good when you're in the stand. For us as supporters, yeah, no.
Absolutely. I mean, you can go back. But Big Al is kind of prone to saying that you go back and you're signing a player on the Wednesday or the Thursday or even the Friday and you're seeing them straight into the team on the Saturday. That doesn't seem to be the case with any of the new signings. We need to give them a couple of weeks to get up to speed and then, match sharpness and this and that. It's changed days for the kind of years ago, but we all remember it to be. I don't know why.
Speak for yourself.
You being a youngster.
Thank you.
Could it also be out of share the market we're shopping in? I find that may have something to do with it here because the finances we're using to get players. Sometimes we've got to look at these, as I like to call them, crocs. It's a market we should be mess about in with these guys. It's maybe injury prone and you get them for decent money, decent wages as well, because obviously, this, maybe as you said, the devil's in the detail.
You take the chance.
Take the chance. So you get a wee gamble with them. You know what I mean? I think that's the market we're shopping in, mate. I really do.
But is Aaron Ramsey worth the chance? Because it proved that he wasn't.
So, hindsight, Alec, when we first signed him, I was excited because I thought he would tear it up here. I really did. I thought maybe if he got games and he could put his injuries behind him. But
he did tear it up in the 9 games out of 28.
Exactly, mate, exactly.
He'll always be remembered in my club's history.
He scored.
He's missing the penalty.
Don't bring it up.
But I thought Jimmy
that was a bad couple of days. For Speedos.
The budgie smugglers.
Fox, can I just say something here?
Yes, David, you carry on.
I think a lot of times when we're talking here, we're talking in the past tense. We can't go in the past tense. We've got to think of what we're going to be doing when we come back after a break. And the performances, what we've been like in the past, that's what we should be worrying about next. That is crucial. This game is massive, massive. After them slipping up like that, getting us a chance back. This is Gio's. I know I've heard stories about get him this, get him that, get him out, blah blah blah. But I tell you, if we do and give him back 3 points, then I would say then now we've got something to worry about, and the main concern.
But if he goes and wins the next game, we're sitting top of the league.
Exactly. But that's why I'm saying it's such a massive... That's what we should be concentrating on.
Aye, that's a good point. And I mean, we haven't played well this season. We know that. We recognise that. And hopefully we can come back refreshed and go again and maybe have some players back and have competitions for places and take off and hit a bit of form. Am I dreaming, Linda?
No, I don't think so, Ox. I think at the end of the day, it simply has to happen because they can't go on like this, the way that they've been playing, because yes, other teams have slipped up and as I said, we've been given this wee lifeline, but we need to play better because yes, they've dropped points, but just now we're not confident that Rangers will go out and even beat teams at home with the way that they've been playing. But away from home, no, the form under Gio away from home has been really quite poor, Ox. I think there was a stat going about that as well. We've only won 50% of the games or something.
It's less than that. It's less than that.
Less than 50%. I don't know how people, get form back. It could be a confidence thing. But as I said earlier, a lot of the issues that we've got just now, we've carried them on from last season. We've got this squad now until January, so some of these players really need to start picking up their form. We know that they can play better. They're not world beaters. But somebody like Ryan Kent, who's starting to really infuriate most of the fans. You don't like singling players out, but he really needs to start stepping up.
That's a record. That's 73 minutes, and that's the first his name's been mentioned. Well done, Linda. You've won the sweepstake.
I could have picked a number of them, Ox, but he's the one that's frustrating me the most just now.
He looks a boy void of confidence for me, Port. I said it last night. I mean, that chance he missed in the first 2 minutes is as bad as some of the misses you've had,
Yeah, you're not kidding, mate. You're not kidding. Aye, and see when it's not going right for a winger, mate, a forward man, it's not going right. It just he looks lost at times, Ox, here. And the only thing I think you can give him some pass facts for is he still tracks back and he still tries. He gives you everything he's got, but it's just not going for him on a forward sense at all, mate. And we've touched on it for the last 2 seasons on this show in regards to Ryan Kent about assists and goals numbers. He's not giving us it, mate. He's never consistently given Rangers goals or assists.
I don't think he wants to be there. I don't think he wants to be there. I don't think he wants to be there, actually.
You might be right, mate. You might be right. He's a player that's been there for a long time, David. You know what I mean? There's a few there.
I know, but he wants you to go, and so did Kamara, and he's down tools or no. You can't have that in a team. You can't have that and expect to win games.
That's the trouble with modern football, isn't it? Players can sit there, work their ticket, get their contracts, AK, and then they can sign for somebody else. We've done it with Lundstrom, we've done it with other players. It's one of the downsides of modern football for us supporters, news fans.
Absolutely, mate. Definitely, absolutely. It's ever for the Jean-Marc Bosman thing came in. What was that, early 90s that came in? Yeah. And now look at the turnaround in football. You had guys on like 7-year contracts and that, Dundee United and stuff on it. I know the club had the power, but now the player has very much got the power. You remember the former, their striker down at Nottingham Forest, absolutely down in tools and refusing to play. You're getting more and more apparent like that. Players are getting managers the sack now because they refuse to play for him. See if they don't like him, his personality or the way we're playing, the players can get the manager the sack.
That team on Saturday that we played got their manager the sack, didn't they? They down to him because he criticised them, didn't he? Yeah. Right,
absolutely.
We're going to move on to the subject then. We're going to talk about the finances of the club and the John Bennett touched on the commercial side of it. There's been a lot of good work done. Some of the things have been great. When I seen the day a picture of the strip, the fix for the sponsor, I wasn't very pleased. That we should be better than that. We got a lot of stuff right and things have improved, but then we've got a lot of stuff wrong with some of the deals as well. But the finances of the club, Linda, let's be honest, as the man said, he couldn't sleep, they were worried about it. due to a lot of the stuff on the park and some of the stuff off the park, we've moved a long way in a short space of time.
Yeah, I think he said his sleepless nights now are just about the football on the park.
We know how he feels.
And he can join in with thousands of us, eh? And I think he said that's the way it should be. But I think he kind of commented to say he thought it's been a resounding success, the commercial, in terms of the sponsors and the partners that we've got now. And I know it's not everybody's cup of tea in terms of all the sponsors' names on the strips and that, Ox, but it's bringing in revenue. I know he didn't talk about some of the issues with Castore and the numbers of strips and that they're bringing out. Didn't he talk about things like the Champions League ticketing prices and things like that, because that's too spiky probably. So yes, it's been a success, but as you rightly said, there have also been some issues for us over the last few years. But I think it is quite sort of a reassuring that he did say that the financial situation seems to be quite sound just now.
Yeah, I think we get that. We'll be in a place, and maybe that's how there's not been quite the investment, because we've had to stabilise even more Port Bear. I think we don't always understand that side of the club.
No, and it was pretty up with you, mate, when he mentioned, about the infrastructure, the support network, European football. He mentioned today that, from Walkenhowie to New Edmonton House to the pitch at Ibrox, the lifts weren't fit for purpose, the roofs, who were basically admitted they were falling in. And Stuart Robinson's assured them that they're all fixed now in the last 40 years. Mr. Bennett said they better last 40 years, you know what I mean? So they're putting a lot of money in the club, mate. And all that money's got to come from somewhere. So James Bisgrove has done a lot for the commercial side of the games and getting partners and getting money into the club. So that has to continue, mate, for again, along with
there's also been a few on goals as well, mate.
Yeah, indeed, mate, indeed there has been, yeah.
Yeah, obviously you've touched on it. That was the next thing, the stadium and the infrastructure. AK, I think it's about 23 million we've had to spend in Ibrox in the last 3 years. And that's a big percentage of your season ticket money, gone. Because it's a thirsty beast, Ibrox. It's a big place to maintain and run. You know what it's like just if you had to do all the plumbing in there,
Aye, definitely. But listen, that's good to hear. At least they are listening to that side of the aspects and realising the improvements that they had to make. Auchenhowie as well, and he went into quite a bit of detail about the improvements that they had done. But see, at the end of the day, Oxford, we're just concerned about what's actually happening on the park, and we see obviously that when
you say that, Alex, but if we got it wrong and we had to go up a safety certificate and no chance
of course.
Aye.
Absolutely, aye. Sections of the ground would be shut down for health and safety reasons. That had to be addressed right away. No, I acknowledge that. You're talking about finances. I don't know if you heard today the Rangers review thing with Mr. Robertson.
I don't listen to the Rangers review, and I'll tell you why. I've nothing against the chaps that do it, but I don't like the owners of the company, mate, so I'll keep away from it.
Oh, cool. No, but listen, I'm not actually on about them or to promote them or anything anyway, but they actually broke down the Champions League thing. I don't know if you were aware of that. We were under the impression we were going to get probably half of about 25 million, but UEFA restructured it. We're only getting 2.0 million. Out of the 32 clubs that's involved in the Champions League, and now number one's Real Madrid, obviously ranked because they won it last year. They're getting 31 million, I think it was, and we're getting 2.3 million or something. That was kind of alarming, kind of basing your financial structure the year ahead. How you meant to budget for that? And it's based over the last 10 years. We've only been in European competition for the last 5. So we're at a distinct disadvantage against all the big guns before we've even kicked a ball, basically.
Aye, that sounds important. You keep going back to the well, mate, and keep progressing. Keep progress to get that coefficient up and to get higher. And unfortunately, that's all about revenue, Dave. It's all about football, isn't it?
Yeah, I definitely agree. All the points are spot on. I mean, you've got to get your house in order, for what we've had to repair. But I know I like telling you, it still doesn't explain some of the way we are playing. That's okay. That's a business side we're talking about. But the real breeding butter is how we're putting our team out on the park. And it's baffling everybody. And that's got nothing to do with finances. That's got to do with who's playing who and where they're playing. And that's not working. It's not working.
No, and again, that a lot of that gets down to go back to the thing we've touched on already, recruitment, Linda. But getting back to the stadium, I think it's important that we use that as an asset to the club to make it a better day experience, and we could have more things like the Harry Styles concert when you threw yourself off the stand and try to get close to Harry, Linda.
I told you not to tell anybody about that. That's shocking. No, but Ox, he was also talking about the facilities for fans with disabilities.
Yes, now we're talking, Linda.
Yeah.
Carry on.
It's something that has been, it's been absolutely ridiculous over the last, few years that we've not even come up with a plan for how that's going to be rectified. And now, I think he said that by this year's AGM, there's a task force group being set up to come up with a plan, and they're hoping to present it. And, that's absolutely wonderful that we're going to be doing that. But he made a point...
Going to help me out, Linda? Did Scotland know of some of the finest engineers in the world?
Yeah.
Could we not give one of them a phone and see if we can engineer the problem and solve it? It can't be that difficult, can it?
I know, Ox. But I do think again that's it's come down to money as well, and I know that's it's terrible that it has come down to finance. But I mean, he said that it, there's not been any investment for nearly 15 years, in the stadium. He was mentioning that was at £3 million. Alex alluded to the earlier to fix the roof and the govern stand, and then I think the broom one's still to be done. So, but the thing for the disabled fans is definitely a priority for them, and I think that's everybody will agree that that's something that's well overdue.
Yeah.
If the club and the communication was right, and I'm not saying we would go back to Rangers pools or something like that, Alex, but if you look at the Club 1872 model, and if it was infrastructure projects, it would something would be interest me if you said that money was gone every month to help subsidise the infrastructure to help the disabled fans. It would be certainly something I would be interested in putting my extra few quid to, Alex,
I think we all would. Say that if there was transparent as that and telling us where the money was going, seemingly when they promoted the My Jers thing, that was meant to be going to the players, for the transfer budget. If Rangers was open, is that, listen, we've got a small percentage of your season ticket or whatever is going towards the upgrading the disabled. I don't think any Rangers supporter would have a problem paying that wee bit extra for it.
I know, it wouldn't be something that would bother me to get it right, fit for purpose, warm, undercover, and fit for this century, David.
Yeah. It's totally 100% agree with you. But it's not as easy to accomplish it. That's the problem. But they're heading in the right direction. That's the best thing I could say about that.
Aye. As Linda rightly said, you're trying to turn back time and solve problems that because of the lack of investment we're not just going back 10 years, if we're honest, it's 15 years, Linda touched on, so you've got to get the infrastructure right before you can go on with these other projects, Portbear.
Indeed, mate. We're discussing the disabled facilities at Ibrox. John Bennett said he wants to make Ibrox Britain's best. Unfortunately, mate, if you want to be Britain's best stadium, you need to have all these facilities for, we're disabled group, because I think there's a lot of clubs not even offering, the visually impaired, etc. stuff, stadium experiences for them. There's so much, everything seems to be so far advanced compared to us now, mate. But I think, obviously, the way John Bennett was talking today, it's something that's on his mind and something the Rangers are looking to rectify and sort. And I hope they sort it pretty soon, mate, because we do want to be Britain's best stadium. We do want to offer, a great match day experience to everybody.
We're always Britain's best stadium because of the people that's in it, mate.
Aye, of course.
Yeah.
for the people that go. Let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972? It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Okay, right. Obviously, the last sort of topic that came up yesterday, AK, was about takeovers and shareholders' interest. I mean, he sort of said that they've all got a responsibility to always sit down and hear people's offers. I think that made a bit of sense, actually. And then it's either a yes or a no. Shake hands, see you later, yeah? But you've always got to, you've got to be interested in looking. You've always got to look, can you?
Well, you can't dismiss it just in the off chance, there's nothing to see there. Basically, you've got to kind of, what's the pros and cons of it, but I think they made the right decision based on what I've kind of heard over. I think it was a £75 million offer, but it was like £15 million over 5 years, and I don't think it was financially viable to take us forward. We've got guys, I think Bennett mentioned Stuart Gibson and that, that they went to the before, guys that they trust, and if they really need them, then the guys are always there in the background. Guy's a billionaire, I believe, with Tycoon out in the Far East somewhere. So as long as we've got still the sort of guys in the background, then we know that the club's still in good hands. You don't want to be certainly risking it going into the kind of wrong hands again. But he kept going on about the value of the support. Something that I would have liked to ask them, Oxia, is why did the board no stick up for the support more about Seville? You know what I mean? A lot of the people that was out there, yourself included, were subject to inhumane conditions out there. And it was for the grace of God that something seriously didn't happen. A lot of your support subject to the heat and everything. I mean, Liverpool were quick to take UEFA to court. Why is your club no doing that sort of action to back up your support?
I think the club have backed, but I think they don't have to tell us every single detail, every letter they send, We're never going to hear all that detail, but maybe if they got the communication right at the right time, and maybe I heard a wee bit more about it, instead of getting into a bunker. That makes sense, yeah? No,
I hadn't heard anything like that before. I've heard people plenty of complaints and they've had zero reply, so I'm only going with other guys have told us that there's zero communication between them and the club. No even the courtesy of replying. As I say, the fact Liverpool took UEFA to court, what their fans were subjected to with the French police more than anything. Well, I think our supporters were in a far more serious condition than what they were subjected to, but absolutely nothing.
That game should have never been in that stadium, Just a step back in time. But we go back to the communication, but Linda, we're always going to be subject to people being interested. Here's a question for you, and I'll go to you then, old Davey. Would you rather have one really wealthy individual who's no connection to the club, or 10 Rangers men who match his wealth in charge of the club? What way would you rather go, Linda?
The 10 Rangers men, the 10 people. We can't get in a situation where it's one person that really kind of has a major stake or owns the club. And I think John Bennett touched on that when he talked about that never again statement. That's what he was alluding to. Mm-hmm. If you've got one person, I think, that would make us nervous. I think the thought of somebody coming in and putting a big, huge injection of cash into the club, I think is quite, people would think that might be a good thing. But I don't think we would ever go down that route again, because I think you're in danger then if that person decides to sell. You've got no control over that ox, and who would they be selling to? Whereas 10 people with their eye on the ball, if one of them wants to walk away, you've still got the others there who care about the club, and hopefully, would see it going in the right direction. So I think I would always rather have more people now. But as I say, I don't know, maybe folk will have different views.
Playing devil's advocate, to get things done, is it easier with one person in charge?
Oh, obviously, with one person in charge, he's got the final overall say. It's his way or no way into it. But I think we've learned a hard lesson before for having one guy that's got all control and asset. And because if they get bored or they decide, just going to cash in and they walk away, you're left with a mess, mate. Well, if they're walking away and we left the same situation we did last time, and we've not got an investor, we've got a problem. Whereas I think if you've got many shoulders to the wheel, with good-minded guys about our club, and investors, mate, with a club Rangers size, I've mentioned this to you before. I would be more concerned if nobody was offered to invest in my club than guys that because I think it's a good sign that people are obviously looking to where we're going, and we're still on a journey, by the way, of rebuilding this club. And I think only through time we'll get more and more investors that will probably want to get involved in our club at a time. We've got John Halstead, Stuart Gibson, Julian Woltard, John Bennett mentioned today, who've all been very, very good at putting money in at times when we need it. And we've got good guys at Xerox, and that's just proofs in the pudding with these guys. We can trust these guys, and whenever John Bennett, the board have to go to them, they've been there to offer money. So I would prefer many hands make like work, mate, definitely.
All right, and obviously if one of them fell out, Davey, you could come in.
With Bridgeman.
No, he's the one guy that wants to run it himself.
I'll tell you, if I ever win the Euro Millions, boy, use it on the brew. I'll buy it, and I'll turn it into what it is now. Anyway, Gray and Linda and Port are spot on. Everything they've said there is spot on. And that's only can take us forward. That's the only way we can go forward. And that's what will happen.
Do you do the Euro Millions, David?
I'm not telling you anyway.
Because I was going to get you one because I know it's nearly your birthday.
We might go yet, Paul. We might go. You're free.
And you come, AK.
Good one. No, listen, I think ideally going ahead, we certainly don't want to go down the road that we've suffered for the last 10 years. But you just look over the border there, Ox, the amount of takeovers that's happening down there. It's obviously in a different financial level for where we are. But the fact that our kind of standard getting to that European final there last year, the exposure that we got out of that, some businessmen might be looking to go, that's a massive football club there that I could do something with.
Are you telling me that somebody watching that Road to Seville's getting more into our club in the other if we win the League Cup? Is that what you're telling me?
Aye, but that League Cup adds a number to the law.
I'm just asking, is that what you're telling me?
Of course it does.
Right, okay.
It's they're looking for money, aren't they?
It takes a big man to admit they're wrong. Rinda.
I don't know.
You'll not get that admission.
A big man will not get it off hand if he leads. And you go, Lynn.
No, I'm just going to say, I don't know what Alex will do if we win that League Cup. He'll probably try and steal it or something like that. But no, the European run definitely put us on the map. But I do have some empathy with Alex. I want that League Cup, Alex. I think it's a lovely trophy.
It's part of the treble, Linda.
Spot on.
Well,
what's your view, Oxy? What would you rather have?
I think the 10 Rangers people, one craps out, you try and get one to the place, I think, in an ideal world. But because we're a business, you're always prone to one guy coming in with an offer. If he gets his shareholding gets so big and then you're into takeovers, it's a complicated thing. But you're just like any other business, I suppose. But I think in an ideal world, we'd like Rangers men. But you'll never know that one guy who's neutral and not driven by the heart might be better. Maybe driven by the head. That's the problem, innit? We're all driven by the heart. Davey.
But aye, spot on. But what you've got to remember, folks, is who wants to buy into Scottish football? I mean, honestly, it's months. Where's the money? There's no money. There's no incentive.
I think that's the point. I think that's the point that AK made there about when people looking down the road. Football's changing.
We're miles away from that.
No, but football's changing. Competitions are changing. You know, and we want to be part of the, if you like, at the top tables rather than the bottom tables, and that might mean that there's changes afoot in Scottish football as well.
Yeah.
Maybe not in the next few years, maybe long term, Davy. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, but where's the quality of football in our leagues? It's
the women's game.
Aye, exactly. But I mean, who would want to buy into that? That's the problem.
Aye,
it's not feasible.
No, I get it. You're buying a brand rather than the football because, let's be honest,
of course, yeah. That's why you need the 10 bears. That's why.
You know. By the way, just mentioned the women's football, and I never seen it. And Mr. Fox, he watched the game while he was involved in the technical side last night. He said it was a superb game with the ladies, Linda, and they lost 3-2, obviously, goalkeeping. He said the 4 of the goals, apart from one of them, great game, great goals. We've still got a chance. He thought the Benfica were slightly better, but we made a great account of ourselves when we're now at the tie. So good luck to the girls in the away leg, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with Fox there. Benfica were maybe just a wee step above us, I think, Ox. But the girl, they acquitted themselves really well, scored a couple of fantastic goals, and it was a shame that the goalkeeping error, it was a kind of, the defender kind of sliced the ball, so it would have been an own goal from the defender if it had gone in, and then the girl didn't quite stop it from going over the line. But what an experience for them to play at Ibrox again, eh?
Aye, a nice crowd there, isn't it? Was 4,000, you know. Good interest, and it's going to be good for the women's game and our women's team, yeah.
100%, mate. If it filters down for the top team, we're all doing well with the women's team. The B team. John Bennett mentioned that today as well, mate. He wants Rangers on all fronts. Getting a good account of themselves, because if you're breeding success through your club, it's only going to, help the club in the long run, mate. So as long as they're all having success on all fronts, I'm happy.
Yeah. Right, okay. The directors and the people at the club, they've had a lot of criticism, particularly in the last few weeks, because we've had a bad run of results, yeah? I think when you look at it, when we've looked at it and dissected the night, they've done a lot of good, a lot of things have been really positive, but ultimately we come back to that same baby. It's the recruitment. It's not been great, innit?
Aye. Ultimately, that's what it boils down to. That your product on the park, is it good enough to win trophies? In the last 5-6 years, you could say we've been unlucky in a few occasions, but 2 trophies he's going on about that. That's not good enough for our club, Oxford. That's not the standards that we were brought up watching teams of past. So we definitely need to improve in that. If you've got the product and the part that's successful, then everything else comes round about it. You can charge whatever prices you want, but see if you're starting to treat with your supporters with contempt and you're not listening to them, and that's I think Alec Fabiscio touched on it last night. The last quarter hour of your Dundee United game, they were leaving the stadium in droves because they were unhappy with what they were seeing. And if that's a dangerous precedent, not to listen to your support in that way, and certainly know to have the product and the part for a winning team.
The guys in your stadium are your paying customers. Yeah,
I know.
They're your business,
Of course they are. Yeah. Of course they are.
They're important to your business.
Can I ask you something?
No, as long as it's not too hard, carry on.
It's not too hard. Something John Bennett mentioned. It was mentioned with Conor Goulcher and one of the pressers earlier. Is this the best squad we've had?
Don't see it myself.
Player quality. No, it's something that's mentioned. And John Bennett said that he's the best squad he's certainly seen, and so does Conor Goulcher. But I don't see it either. No,
I don't see it. If you were to take that squad back, it's pretty much the same team. We've seen it last Wednesday night. It's the same team as 2019. Yep. You throw Aribo and you throw Calvin Bassey in there, that's better than anything else we've got at the moment. Yeah.
No, just to sort of throw it at you because that was something that was mentioned during the John Bennett's interview, and I was like, really?
And if
Does he really think that?
you go back 4 years ago, and Ryan Jack's 27, no 31, and fitter and more mobile, and that he's a better player. Arfield's a bit younger, McGregor's a bit sharper because he's younger. I just don't see that at the moment. Now, he might be talking about the fringe players who'll kick on, and young man Redvan might be a project Linda, and he could be the next Calvin Bassett, a different type of player. But we're not seeing that at the moment. And the point that John Bennett made is we've not signed them for 5 weeks. Some of them have signed for 5 years, I understand, but I don't see it as we stand today. I don't think it's the best squad we've had in the past. Linda?
No, I would agree, Ox. And the performances in the last 5 or 6 games, probably you could argue this season there was a few good games where we were quite excited about Tillman. He was playing quite well. We had obviously Lawrence in the team as well. When we signed Redvan, I think we all thought he's probably just going to go right in because Borna was not having a very good start. But to be fair to Barisic, he's probably been our best player over the last few weeks. So I don't know. The boy Matondo as well had a reasonably good start. But again, my understanding is his best position's coming off the left wing. But we're trying to shoehorn him into playing right-sided as well, Ox. So I don't see how that's the best squad we've had. Maybe if they're all fit and firing and we got all these injuries, cleared up and we've got this more to choose from, maybe we'll need to reserve our judgment until Christmas. But as it stands just now, I would agree with you. No.
Well, we've another fan of yours phoned in this evening. We've been joined by Big Al. Evening, big man.
Oh, right. Hi, Linda.
Good evening, Al.
I wasn't going to mention our relationship tonight, but since it's been brought up, how are you, sweetheart?
I'm fine, Al. How's yourself?
I'm all right, Dale.
Oh, there he is, the Michael Stewart of Rangers Radio. How are you doing? I hear the gangbangers on as well.
How you doing, big man?
Not bad.
Good man.
How we doing, Big Al?
I am brand new. The finance thing, and there's a few things behind the scene, but ultimately, it comes down to the results, doesn't it? If we're doing well on the park, all that stuff goes away. The thing with the back of the strip, your man getting the interviews, and then I noticed the thing on that. I thought it was quite pertinent, and somebody picked up on it. They want to get the communication up, but you have to pay for it on Rangers TV. I thought that was quite funny to view the interviews and things like that. Like, so sometimes it does look like it's money grabbing. They keep going back to the well. They can't keep doing that, but I don't think it's as bad, if this makes sense, going back to the well if you're winning league titles and trophies and that. People will accept it that way because they see that their money's going to a winning cause. It's when you keep asking for money, and you're not winning. I think that therein lies a problem. And for me, the 10 guys, look, I think we've got 10 guys there that are doing their best for the club, but they haven't got that deep of pockets. I'd love a Russian oligarch or a Middle Eastern billionaire to come in and just flood us with cash and we've no problems. I also like the idea of having 10 guys there that have got Rangers at heart. I don't know how much Julian Wolhart's got Rangers at heart. I don't know if he grew up as you know what I mean? So, look, I think it swings around a bit, but I think a lot of the problems go away if we can see on the park that we're doing well and we're hitting the targets on the park. And the only thing that can do that is winning league titles. And I'll go back to, I've said to you a few times, over the last 4 years, we've no strength, and when we were in a position of strength, we actually regressed. We won something, and we went back the way. So that's all I like to say, and I just like listening to Linda's dulcet tones.
We know that to both your comments. Well, recruitment's not been great. I mean, I think we've touched on that and through the last few transfer windows. And I think Port said when Aaron Ramsey came in, I think you were in the other camp, Al. I don't think you were particularly for it, if I remember right. I might be wrong.
No, I'm not. No.
You know,
I want to see the young guys. I think they've got potential there in the young guys. I think we need to strategise and get them into the team in some way.
But Port, you were on a different camp. You thought Aaron Ramsey was just going to come in and we would walk the league when he came in, and it never worked. And that's the thing about recruitment. It's a gamble, isn't it? It's football players. It's no a normal business, Port.
Exactly. I did. I thought he was going to come in and have sort of, same impact, maybe not the same level. Like Gascoigne, a guy that just come in, hit the ground running, loads of experience, played with Arsenal, Juventus, Scottish League. Even if he was 70% fit, I remember saying this at the time, even at 70% fit, he should still be enough quality to do very well in your league. And like he proved me, it was a gamble, it didn't work out, and paid him decent money. So that's how he's away and he's not re-signed. But
we've had a few of the gambles, so haven't we, Port, over the past few seasons, and it's who's making that decision to take that gamble. I think they need to be questioned, because we're talking about it as a business as well. If any other business, you've done this the same thing 3 or 4 times, and it's you're not getting a monetary value, or you're not achieving your targets.
You'd be gone.
You'd be gone. Yeah. Aye. So it's whoever's making the decision, and maybe therein lies the problem with the Rangers are run by committee type of thing. You've got a lot of people to please, and it's difficult to try and get one strategy in place. Like, people have their own preferences and things like that. You know what I mean? And I'm not surprised Port. That was his thought on Ramsey anyway. Very excitable when he sees young, handsome men coming into the club.
Ross Wilson showing him around the stadium and the tour and all that. Well, we've seen much of Ross this season, haven't we?
No.
No, he's not the same fanfare. Sure, he's not. Definitely not.
No.
But
I just asked Port, is there anything in the Scottish League that if we could just go and get them and bring them in, is there anything that you think would add value to the team?
Do you know, mate?
Barry Mackay.
A sad indictment in my league. There's, remember back in the days when we could go and pick, the best of what maybe Hearts had or Hibs had. There's nobody that sticks out in my mind in the Scottish League that we could go and just cherry pick and take.
You said Barry Mackay.
Me?
Not guilty.
I would have him in the team before Kent, Matondo and Wright. If you've seen Hearts lately, you would.
We watched Rangers. I would have thrown Mackay in before.
White and Mackay. Maybe you might get White and Mackay into the team.
But there's nobody that sticks in, and I think it was Davy. Davy mentioned the quality of Scottish football. I mean, I don't. I only watch us really. I see players against us, and it's hard to judge, But Davy mentioned the quality of the game, and he's right. Because we see the results for the rest of the teams in Europe, and the game's that negative when they have to play a decent game of football. But can't do it, Davy?
Oh, you're spot on. I'm very big Al about the boys. Definitely. We've got too many players in who run the race. And it's sticking out a mile. And it's not just one or two, they're all out apart. And we're just sticking with the same lot. Aye, Al.
I like you when you're on, you're actually really good. Before we played the Puddle Drinkers, I was laughing. My son broke
I actually prefer it when he's known, but carry on.
You'll be 74 one day yourself.
You sound older than that, Davey. You sound older than 74, man. For the hard life,
Benji's birthday.
David, just to give you. So before the Puddle Drinkers game, my son came out the bed and he's got his 2019 annual, I was looking through the annual, and 75% of the players that were playing in that game were in that annual for 2019. So I think that tells us a lot. You know what I mean?
Yes. Spot on.
And the players have served us well. I don't want to be.
Of course
the players
have.
they've served us well, but you've got to change for a position of strength. You've seen Alex Ferguson at Man United. The players were still playing well. We couldn't see it, but he always done that wee change just to freshen things up, push other players. So,
spot on.
I think, Davey, you should get a show of your own.
That's a great idea. By the way, there's been one name not really mentioned tonight in the whole conversation, Linda. It's the manager.
Takeover,
Yeah. He's doing the best he can with that lot.
I don't want to upset you. Your name's no Linda.
The thing is, if we hadn't, I know it's hypothetical, and you know you're thinking if it had happened. If we hadn't beaten Dundee United on Saturday, do we still think he would be here?
No, I don't.
No, but that's football, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not a personal thing. That's just football, Linda. I think it's just.
Yeah, and he wins his next league game. He's sitting top of the league.
Yeah.
Aye, I know. Yes. That's the wonderful thing about it.
Aye, he bounced back, you know. But aye.
When you get two results against Liverpool, there you go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, AK.
Do you not think Sunday's result made Saturday's result acceptable?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Sunday's result made Saturday's result acceptable.
Oh, he's fell off his chair.
Yucks.
Big Al's opened the trap door on him.
What's that? Who fell off? Who fell off the chair?
He's
wouldn't have had far to fall.
You get in there, man. You big man. You get in there.
He wouldn't have had far to fall, man.
That's brilliant. That's good to hear somebody laughing.
Is he all right? Is somebody check on him?
Fox is tighten.
Well, there's a blue light just flashed by my window here. I think it's heading for his house.
All right. So I think Ox is maybe gone. So I think we've probably got the last 5 minutes. Al, just to say to you, do you think obviously Sunday just took the pressure right off Gio?
Yeah, in some ways, but I'll maybe go back to. I was listening to his last night. The results come and go and all that, but I tend to agree with Bridgeman, and I mean, I think he's right. A 1-0 all season with Diaz. The performances at the end of the season didn't really matter as long as we're holding the trophy in our hands.
Okay.
Does that make sense? We go the first 15-20 minutes of the game, we smashed them, didn't we? And then we reverted back to tight. But at the end of it was 90 minutes. Like, I've kind of forgot about the performance, and I'm not really too worried about what they do. I'd like to see us doing more. And just, if it's 1-0, if it's not at the end of the season, I don't care, but 1-0 gets us that trophy. And that's our bread and butter.
Just all about results then, AK?
100%. That's why we've got the numbers up on the wall, and that's the standard that our club has set. The guys that wear the shirt, the guys that are in the boardroom, they're only custodians to wear the shirt or to represent us. The supporters they're the lifeblood of the club. That's what I do agree with Mr. Bennett on. Rangers is all about winning. All the numbers on the board, that's what matters to us most. So if we'll accept the performance as long as we're winning, but we need to be showing a lot more than what they're showing, particularly against that lot, because that's obviously the main opposition that we've got. So if we're winning the trophy, that's what I'm concerned about.
Davey,
thanks for taking my call.
You still there, Davey?
I think so.
Oh, here's Ox back.
Oh no!
I see, Davey. Heard you laughing at him. That's you've had it.
Right, you just do the A&E.
I've just got one thing to say to you, Davey. I hope you have a nice birthday.
4th of January 1949.
Yeah, we'll not be speaking to you to your birthday. Listen, thanks to everybody for joining. Sorry about that. Last words for your good self, Linda and Port.
Yeah, great show tonight, Ox. Lots of great callers and lots of good comments. Great being on. Thanks to Port and obviously your good self, the hostess with the mostess.
Port Bear.
Aye, cheers, mate. Cheers, Linda. Great being on me, pal. Kids, I get you right, Ox, dear. Big Al, all the rest of the troops, Davey, Alex, the rest of the callers. Cheers for having us, guys.
Yeah, cheers to Jimmy, Davey, Big Al, and of course the one and only AK, your good self, Linda and Port, and of course Fox and Old School Blue for doing the technicals. We'll be back tomorrow night talking about all things Rangers, and we'll be joined by the one and only, let me just, Big Stevie's with us, and who else is with us? Just make sure I get this right. Stevie and Allbear with us tomorrow night talking about all things Rangers. Thanks for listening. Take it away. Old School Blue.
Today, forever and for always, we are Rangers through and through. Well, the legends come and the legends go, but Rangers live on just the same. For a new one's born when the blue shirts won, and we all remember their name. We are the legendary Rangers. We wear the legendary blue. Today, forever and for always, we are Rangers through and through. And there is no doubt what we're all about when we face the world and say, bring it on some more, 'cause you know for sure that we don't do walk away. We don't do walk away. We are the legendary Rangers. We wear the legendary blue. Today, forever and for always, we are Rangers through and through. We are the legendary